Ph.D. does not mean smart, by user Bunsen. Years and years ago now, I was the scientific support manager for a small company that made scientific modeling software. The title was illusory. I was responsible for all of the tech support and tech writing. It was a nightmare. Most of the problems were due to the company's owner/president/grand poobah, but a few of the customers were special too. Most of the customers were from academia, many had advanced degrees, and some were inclined to be snotty to us mere minions on account of their supposed academic superiority. As it happens, I and most of my colleagues had Ph.D.s too, as well as considerable expertise in, the software we produced. One customer with a Ph.D., call him FUD, got to be annoying by asking questions about things that were really basic, and easy to find in the manuals. And, if I may say so myself as the guy responsible for keeping those manuals up to date, they were pretty good. Before I joined the company, the manuals were comprehensive and well written. There was a complete book of tutorials, leading the user through the steps towards doing various kinds of calculations. I improved their clarity and went all out on their indexes, making sure that one could find things by using relevant synonyms or phrases. One or two times, when FUD wrote to me asking how do I do thing with the software, I replied back with a brief description, and noted that you can find all of the details by looking in the index under thing.rtfm, yet. Came the day when FUD wrote to me at my personal email address at the company to ask how he could get the software to do X. I preferred that people addressed such questions to the company's support at address, which was forwarded to my own, against the possibility that I might someday have a chance to take a vacation. Or, for whatever other reason, might not be on hand to deal with support matters, and one of my colleagues would have to cover for me. But that wasn't a major concern. At that point, I got the question. Unfortunately, what FUD wanted to do was simply not feasible for our category of model, at a very fundamental level. He wanted to measure a thing that was beyond the scope of that field. We couldn't do it, none of our competitors could do it, no model of that type would ever be able to do it. I wrote back to him and explained the nature of the problem, in straightforward terms. Because the guy seemed to be a bit dense, I kept the writing level considerably below Ph.D. standards. FUD apparently didn't like what I told him. So he then wrote to the company's support at address, asking the exact same question again. Which was, of course, relayed directly to me. So I wrote back to him, as I told you before. Dropping the writing level down to about a Bachelor's of Science level. FUD still didn't like that answer. So he wrote to the mailing list that our company maintained for our customers to discuss matters, asking the same question a third time. And as it happens, my responsibilities also included managing that mailing list. So I got to respond on that list, as I told you before when you wrote to me directly, and again when you wrote to me via the support address. This is fundamentally impossible, because a few months later, when we were planning changes to the software's drop-down menus for an upcoming new version, we were trying to figure out how to keep things straightforward for basic users while still allowing access to all of the bells and whistles for those who needed them. One possibility that we discussed was a menu setting, a toggle box for Show Advanced Options. One of my colleagues half-jokingly suggested that there should be 3 settings, Regular, Advanced, and FUD. That last one would get rid of all of the menu options, and replace them with a single command, Calculate. And just like magic, the requirements don't apply to us anymore, by user Alankel. I work on any different sites on different types of equipment. Most visits are for routine service visits for customers with service contracts. Over the last few years, a lot of sites require us to sign up to various portal sites. So rather than someone on site making sure that we have the necessary qualifications, are insured, and all that, they have an external company do that, for a fee that they expect us to pay for. There's a minority of sites where we don't have to pay for this. We recently had a customer, a contractor already on a site, so we'd be subcontracting in to do the work, on a site that requires us to be signed up to a certain portal company. That customer has a new requirement that we sign up with a different portal company. The cost of being signed up with portal company 1 was already factored in when we commissioned this system a few years ago, and then continued with the routine maintained. The cost for portal company 2 was significant, 20% of the overall job. So we quoted this as a line item for the customer's new service quote for 2023. Prior to this, they were absolutely insistent that we have to be signed up with portal company 2 and just expected us to absorb the cost. Once they realized that we'd charge them for it, the requirements went away. Funny how that happens. The support call that brought me to tears, by user Doyle2112. Apologies if formatting isn't correct as I'm posting on mobile. I work for an ISP in the UK and this story is from when I worked at a previous ISP. This story always sticks to me as a time I made a difference. Me, your half-competent tech support guy. WL, widowed lady who was at a point of a breakdown. It was late towards the end of a late evening shift when I get a call through from a woman who was distressed and about to cry down the phone. They asked if I could help with the voicemail on their copper landlines as their husband had passed away a few months before and had recorded a message on it. This had already been going on for a few months as the provisioning department had somehow ceased their services a couple months before when changing the account to her name. They had somehow struggled to reorder the service and then told her everything was lost, without confirming with tech support. Sensing the distress, I slowed down and asked her to describe as best she could what she meant by message and when this was recorded. WL says that it was done years ago and is meant to play when calling the line. This narrowed this down to being one of two things, either the VM service inbuilt to the line at the exchange level or their handset. The inbuilt one would mean everything was indeed lost, the other gave hope, so hope we would. I asked them to give me 5 minutes and when I rang their line, to let it ring to voicemail. We hung up and I went into the systems to remove the inbuilt VM, then took a deep breath and rang their number. 30 seconds in and a gruff older gentleman starts speaking, saying to leave a message. Before I knew what was happening, the tears started streaming and the lady picked up. I tried my best to keep a clear voice and informed them I may have sorted it and to try ringing their landline from a mobile and that I would call back in 2 minutes. I rang back as promised and was met with happy crying and profuse thank yous for giving her the first moment of joy in months. I wished her well and just said that it's just my job to try and help. In the aftermath, I just sat there in disbelief that she had 4 months of misery all because no one in the other department thought to confirm an issue with us, the ones who actually know how it works. This isn't a complex story, but I thought it's one worth sharing that there are times that we can genuinely provide joy for others. Using IT as repo men, by user 1987. I worked at a small engineering firm for 8 years. The IT team consisted of 2 people, myself and our network guy. I had to wear many hats, sysadmin and user support, and when my coworker was out I was also the network guy. Along with my normal IT duties came a plethora of other jobs that were stretching the definition of IT related. The company let go of one of our PMs for being, well, constantly hammered both at work and outside the office. A couple of weeks later I was called into the CFO's office and our HR lady was there too. I was told that what was said should never leave this room. I am not going to use any names or the name of the company, so I think I'm good here. The PM who was let go had refused to return their computer and their company car. They wanted me and the CFO to go to their home and repo the items. This person's home was a good 3-hour drive away, so the CFO and I took one of the company vehicles and went on our way. We get there and we have a key to the company vehicle we came to get, so we drive around the parking lot looking for it. Turns out he had a private garage and the vehicle was being stored in there. We didn't have a key to the garage, obviously, so we went to the apartment offices and asked if they could get the guy on the phone to ask him to open the garage so that we could retrieve the items. He refused again. We called HR and they said they would reach out to local PD to come out and knock on his door and request again that he open his garage and let us get the property. The police show up and they get him to come down and open the door. When I say this I mean they basically carried him down because he was unable to walk due to the alcohol, and they opened the door because he couldn't manage that either. The is opened and we are able to retrieve company property, then stop at Applebee's before going back to the office and promptly going home after. I felt so bad for that guy and I was livid that I was put in that position. Inactivity timers, the bane of an employee's existence, by user music for Lighty. I'll never wrap my mind around why signing into your computer is such a fucking inconvenience for some people. This encompasses 3 jobs, the same issue across the board. Job 1, the hospital. In the beginning, God created inactivity timers that were set to 5 minutes, and it was good. These timers were deployed across the entire organization, no exceptions. Even at 5 minutes, this can still be a risk in high traffic areas. However, since doctors run hospitals, they get to complain about anything and everything. You'd think that doctors working in a hospital could grasp the concept of confidentiality, right? Wrong. After being so inconvenienced by having to sign into their computer with their weak-ass 8-character password after they walked away from their computers, all of the doctors, and some nurse managers, banded together to demand that the inactivity timers be removed from the computers, or else they were all quitting. Now this isn't just a small hospital either, it's a health network with 7,300 plus employees, a level 1 trauma center 70 plus clinics, etc. Obviously for HIPAA compliance, we must have something, so the compromise was an hour on the inactivity timer. An hour. At that point, it might as well be gone, anyway. Job 2, the city. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm now working for a local municipality. Small workforce, about 150 people. Zero inactivity timer whatsoever because people are so inconvenienced. Only one guy running IT, and he doesn't like to rock the boat. I come in, I suggest it, I get that well we tried that once but everyone complained. Fine, whatever. I still take issue with this because employees are still handling PII, especially law enforcement and utilities, HR is handling HIPAA information, and there's obviously things that haven't been publicly disclosed yet. Finally, an IT contractor tells the manager the same thing I did, and he goes okay, we'll try it again. Our philosophy was that 2 minutes is a long time to not move your mouse, so we set it to 2 minutes. Edit, it's worth noting that this change was approved by the city manager and all department heads. Instantly. Calls and emails flood in about why is my computer locking out and this is hindering my work. We respond with this is just going to have to be something that we learn to live with. It's been approved by the city manager. Well then CM turn around and goes okay, 2 is too low. Set it to 5. Yeah, you're probably right, seems pretty low. We'll set it higher. Oh wait, this person is super inconvenienced even at 5 minutes. Make it 10. Oh wait, this person is still super inconvenienced. Turn it off just for them. Oh, and this person, and this person. At the time I left, we had a standard 5-minute GPO, a 10-minute GPO, and a no timeout GPO that was originally intended for video boards, but had like 20 people in it. Job 3, the clinic. Back to medical world I went, this time doing to contract work on the side for a local clinic. They wanted me to redeploy everything. New server, new computers, new everything. Part of that was setting up a domain. So I oblige, and tell them that there's going to have to be a 5-minute inactivity timer for HIPAA. Originally, it's cool. Then, like everyone else, it's a problem. It's just so inconvenient. Can't we just remove it? Nah, you wanted to be compliant, you're compliant now. Well just remove it for these people, because they don't access health info. They still access PII and manage your money, but whatever. Here, sign this form releasing me from liability when you get audited and you're found out of compliance. This one is still an ongoing situation. The complaints seem to always be the same. It's really hindering our work. It's slowing me down. I don't like to. I didn't have to do this at my last job. I get up to go do something, and then have to sign back and all. Over. Again. Here's my take, I have a 20+ character password that I have to enter almost 100 times a day. I have zero fucking sympathy for you. Not only that, it's not slowing you down that much. You have to spend an extra 5 seconds signing in. Big deal. Also, if you're getting up to go do something, you need to lock it anyway. But even if you're not going to, you're not spending 5 minutes going to grab a piece of paper from the printer. You're going to the bathroom, getting a snack, checking your phone, gabbing it up with your coworkers, or, in rare cases, you're doing another function of your job. But through all of that, you're not working at your computer, so your computer should be locked. But I need it unlocked at all times. No you fucking don't. I don't give a rat's ass what argument you think you have, it's wrong. Anyone else have to put up with this shit? Edit, I totally agree that it shouldn't be cumbersome. But to the people saying it's my business, you're just there to make it work, we're also the ones who clean up your network intrusions, DLP circumvention and confidentiality breaches, which usually come down to how did IT let this happen? That gives us every right to demand that you implement certain preventative measures. An inactivity timer is not the end of the world. Edit, formatting, spelling.